Hey video creators, I want to share with you a cool tool that helps my video editing workflow. What this tool does is it will, with one click, process all of the video files in a folder and extract out the audio from those video files. And it extracts out the audio into separate left and right tracks. So your stereo audio inside of the video file becomes two mono tracks, one for left, one for right. And then I can just pull the video file and those resulting audio tracks into my video editor and have an easier time editing the project. Now, why would I want to do such a thing? Lots of times I don't. If I'm just roaming around doing some casual video recording, I'm video recording at the county fair, or I video a live band playing, or maybe I'm at somebody's birthday and I'm videoing the event. So if I'm videoing an event and I just want to pick up ambient audio, in that case, having a stereo mic on the camera and recording a stereo track, that's just perfect. But lots of times that's not what I'm doing. I might be doing videos like this one right here, where I've got one microphone going into left channel. And I'm not doing anything with right channel. Or maybe I'm putting a lower version of this signal into right channel as a safety track. But I'm not going to use that safety track unless it's necessary. So I'm probably just going to throw that one away. Maybe I'm recording an interview with two people, and I give each person a microphone. One person goes to left channel, the other person goes to right channel, and I want to process that when I do my video editing. And when I do my video editing, I want to have independent control of the left and right channel. I want to be able to adjust their volume individually. Maybe I want to be able to apply a little bit of equalization to one microphone without having those adjustments affect the other. And I know it's not that difficult. Inside of the editor, I could just say copy the audio track and then adjust the properties of those audio tracks to just look at left channel or just look at right channel. I can do that. But if I've got a lot of video clips that I'm working with, doing all of that track splitting and manipulation, it's just a little bit tedious. And so this tool that I'm going to share with you will just, in one click, boom, give me all the tracks I need. The other thing is that this is a script that does automated processing, so it's going to process all of your video files with one click. And since it's a script, in addition to just splitting out the tracks, you could have it do other things. You could have it do other kinds of automated audio processing on your video files. So you can let your imagination run wild. I do a little bit of secret sauce on my audio automatically, one click with this tool. So that's something to keep in the back of your mind. Now this script, this tool that I'm talking about uses the FFmpeg utility. FFmpeg is a general purpose tool that can do all sorts of audio and video file manipulations in a batch format. It's a free tool. It won't cost you a dime. And it's in active development. So the team who develops FFmpeg are continuously working on it to improve it, add new features. And this is a very highly regarded tool for doing all sorts of file manipulation. It's a great utility. It's also a command line utility. So it doesn't have all these fancy windows and menus and mouse clickies. It's a command tool that you type commands into, and it does a process and returns a result. This process is not going to touch your video files. It's just going to read them. It won't modify them in any way, but it will extract out and give you two mono audio files for each video file in a folder. So I'm going to show you how to install FFmpeg on your Windows computer. Then I'm going to show you how to put together a little script to call FFmpeg and process your files. Now, I'm using Windows 11, and I've got a bit of a funky color scheme going on, so my version of Windows 11 might have a little different color setup than yours, but you should be able to follow along. If you're using a prior version of Windows, this will work for you as well, but you might have to make a couple minor adjustments. The menus might be a little different. If you're using Mac OS or Linux, there are versions of FFmpeg for those platforms as well, but my script that does the automated processing will probably have to be somewhat significantly modified for those platforms. But the FFmpeg commands will still apply in your case if you're not using Windows. So let's get started. I'm going to switch over and let you take a look at my screen on the computer, and I'll give you a quick demonstration of how this tool works and how useful I think it is. And from there, I'll go through the installation process and setup of FFmpeg on Windows. It's really quite simple. And then I'll show you how to create the small script that I use for processing your video files. So let's get started. I'm going to flip over and let you take a look at my computer screen, and I'll talk you through the process. Let me demonstrate how this script works. This is using Windows 11. My color scheme may be different than yours, but if you're using Windows 11, it should look similar. So I'm looking at a folder here, and it contains a couple of video files that I want to process. So all I do is I go to that folder, I right-click, and I say Open in Terminal. So we get a terminal prompt that's sitting in this current working directory. Once I'm in the directory at a terminal prompt, I just type extract sound, which is the name of the script I want to execute. And we hit enter. And that runs the script, and you see some status messages pop up on the screen showing what it's doing. And the script is completed. So now I can type exit, or I can just close the terminal window. And when we come back to our folder, you'll see that we still have our video files. Those remain unchanged. But we now have audio track files for each of the video files broken out into left and right tracks. And so I can pull all of these tracks into my video editor and have all of the audio separated out into individual tracks that are easy to manipulate. Of course, we have to get the timing right so the audio and the video stay in synchronization with each other. However, the audio tracks are going to be the exact same length as the video track. And so inside of your video editor, if you just line all of these tracks up with the exact same starting and ending points, they should be pretty darn close in time. To set this up on your computer, we're going to need to download and install the FFmpeg utility for processing video and audio files, and then we're going to make a small Windows script to call FFmpeg and do the processing that we want. FFmpeg can be obtained from a lot of different sources, but I want to make sure to get a copy of it that comes direct from the source so I know that it hasn't been adulterated or bundled with anything I don't want. So I'm going to go to FFmpeg.org right here and get the legitimate latest version of FFmpeg. So pull up your web browser and go to FFmpeg.org, and you should see a page that looks something like this. FFmpeg is a project that's run by a bunch of software developers and programmers, and the web page graphic design probably reflects some of that. This is a free-to-use utility that's extremely powerful, and it's a great tool. So once we're on this page, I'm going to just scroll down a little bit, and you'll see that there's a link for download. Let's click that. And then we have a choice to download the source code. I don't want to download the source code because I'm not going to go in here and make any tweaks and modifications and build my own custom version of FFmpeg. I just want the finished compiled program. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit where it says Get Packages and Executable Files. That's the finished program. And you'll see that it's available for Linux Windows, or Mac OS. I'm interested in the Windows version. So as soon as I hover over that, you'll see that some links appear below for the Windows exe files. We'll choose the first link. Then on this page, I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see there are multiple different versions of this package that are available for us to grab. And at the very top, you'll see a choice of the FFmpeg Essentials and the FFmpeg Full version. Either one would work perfectly fine for us. The Essentials is a slightly smaller version that does almost everything everybody needs. It's all the standard features of FFmpeg. The Full version has all of the very latest and greatest, some of those fringe features that not too many people are probably using. It's a little bit bigger. And then we have some prior versions that are available. You'll notice that these files end with .7z. They're packaged with 7-zip. So this is a package that contains a collection of files within, and it's all been compressed and packed together with a utility called 7-zip. If you're familiar with zip, ZIP, it's just like that, but a slightly different tool. 7-zip is natively supported in Windows 11, so that's no issue at all. If you're using a version of Windows prior to Windows 11 and you don't have 7-zip functionality, you can download the 7-zip tool for extracting files and use these files. If you prefer not to go through that, you can just scroll down through this list and find a version of FFmpeg that was packaged with zip rather than 7-zip, and prior versions of Windows support zip natively. But since I'm using Windows 11 and 7-zip is no problem for me, I'm going to just choose the package I wish to download. I'll take the one at the top here, which is the latest version, and I'll choose the full version. Why not? So I just click on that, and that will go into wherever you download your files to, and we'll grab a copy of that file. So at this point, the folder that you download your files into should contain a copy of the FFmpeg utility software. FFmpeg is not a fancy Windows program that you drive with your mouse, and it doesn't have a fancy installer. It's just a simple executable program that we need to put somewhere on Windows. So before we go extracting this, let's make a place to put FFmpeg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder to hold FFmpeg and my script file, and I'll put it on drive C, and I'll call it FFmpeg. That seems to make sense to me. So I'll go to my C drive, I'll right click, and I'll say New, make a new folder, and I'll call it FFmpeg. And we'll open up that folder. So I'll put the FFmpeg tools into this folder on my C drive. So now that we've created a place to put our FFmpeg utility files, let's go back to our Downloads folder and find the FFmpeg package that we just downloaded, and this is a 7-zip package. And I assume that you've installed 7-zip, or you're using Windows 11 that natively knows how to open up a 7-zip file. And we'll double-click that to open it up. And we're just looking at the contents of this file now, and we see that there's a folder directory inside of it. We'll go down into that. And then you'll see that underneath that is another folder called bin, or binaries. That's where the actual FFmpeg program is located. I'll double-click and go into that. And here are the FFmpeg utilities, FFmpeg exe, and a couple of other companion utilities that they provide with it. So I'm going to just simply highlight those files and copy them over into my C drive on that new folder that we created called FFmpeg. And so now I can close this 7-zip archive and my downloads folder. And I have on my C drive a folder called FFmpeg that contains the FFmpeg utility software. The next thing we need to do is to tell Windows that this is one of the folders it should look in when we're trying to execute a command and we don't find that software, the program, in the current working directory. So we're going to adjust the system path to add this folder to the list of folders that Windows looks in when we're trying to execute a program. The next step is to edit the system path so that Windows is able to find the FFmpeg utilities in the folder that we created. And to do that, we're going to edit the system environment variable called path. And to make those changes, just go to Settings in Windows, and a screen like this should appear. And where it says Find a Setting, let's just type Path. And you'll see in the choices that come up on the bottom, it says Edit environmental variables for your account. So we'll choose that. And then on this screen that appears, you'll see the environmental variables that Windows has set up, and you'll see one labeled Path. We want to edit that. So choose that and choose Edit. Then you'll see this list here, which shows the different folders that have been defined for Windows as places to look for software when it doesn't find that software in the current working folder. We want to add our FFmpeg folder to this list. So we're going to add a new entry by clicking the New button. And then we're going to tell it where the folder is, which is C:/FFmpeg. And choose OK. And then we can close this window out, choose OK. And we're done. So now Windows will be able to find FFmpeg regardless of what folder we're residing in on the machine. At this point, we have FFmpeg installed on your Windows 11 computer. The final step is to create a script which has a list of commands in it that tell Windows to search through whatever the current folder is, find all of the video files, and process them with FFmpeg with the appropriate command switches to do the kind of processing we want, which is to extract the audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the FFmpeg folder that contains the FFmpeg utilities because I want to put my script file in this same folder. The script file is just simply a text file that contains the commands that we want to execute. So I'm going to right-click and say Open in Terminal. So I get a terminal prompt that is in the same current working folder or same current working directory. And from here, I'm going to use the Windows Notepad utility, which is just a simple text editor. So I'll type Notepad, followed by a space, and the name of the script I want to create, which I'll call extract-sound. When creating your script name, don't use any spaces in the file name or really unusual characters. Extract sound makes sense to me. Now this is a list of commands for Windows. This is a command script, so I need to end it with .cmd. That way Windows knows it's a command script. Notepad appears, and it gives me a cautionary message saying that that file doesn't exist. Do you want to create it? Yes, we do. And here we're going to type in the commands that tell Windows to scan the directory for video files and to process them with FFmpeg. This is a fairly long command line that we need to put in, and computers have no imagination, so we have to get all of these syntax characters just exactly right, otherwise Windows has a problem. So I'm going to put a copy of this script line into the video description on this video, so you can just grab that and cut and paste it into here. And that is the command line. You might want to pause the video at this point and make sure that you're typing this in exactly correctly. I'm going to hit enter at the end of this line just to make sure that it's properly terminated. And then I will click File and Save to save the script. And then I can click File and Exit to exit. We're back at our command prompt, and we can close that by typing exit or clicking in the upper right corner where the X is. And you'll see in your folder you now have the FFmpeg utility and your command script. So at this point you should be able to open up any other folder on your computer that contains video files, right-click, pop open a terminal prompt, and type extract sound. You don't need the .cmd. Just type extract sound and hit enter, and you'll process your video files and extract the audio. Well, there it is. As you can see, it's quite simple to set up this script so that you can have automated processing of your video clips and make your video editing a little bit easier. I find this tool to be super helpful, and I hope that you do too. Thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll catch you again soon on another upcoming episode.